So, hi everybody, welcome Gemma, thank you for coming to Dots.
Thanks for having me.
So, we are going to be talking about Gemma's book, as Nancy mentioned, Open. We are going to start with a short film just introducing the book and a bit of background about Gemma as well.
Have you ever put on a pair of headphones with nothing playing in them just to escape all noise? Anxiety. Has it ever felt like it's going to swallow you whole? Have you ever avoided a mirror or felt uncomfortable in your own skin? Have you ever felt the pain of a broken heart? Does the internet ever make you feel like you want to smash something? I'm Gemma Cairney and I've got an announcement to make.
After attempting drama school, followed by a little stint of working in fashion, to now, nearly a decade of finding my feet as a broadcaster, I've made specialist and award-winning documentaries. Our brains can kind of mess about with us a bit, can't they?
I think the relationship between the brain and the body is probably what's at the heart of self-harm.
I've spoken with young people all over the country. I've been lucky enough to host discussions and interviewed and picked the brains of experts, doctors, neuroscientists, psychologists, and many of the most knowledgeable and experienced out there. Though sometimes heavy, painful, and confusing, I love life. Though extraordinary so far, it's not always been easy. I was in a violent relationship aged 12 to 17, have deeply loved and lost again and again, have sometimes felt like I don't understand how I feel about the way I look, partly because I don't see this face represented. Next, I am writing a book, and it's called Open, a toolkit for how magic and messed up life can be, a chapter-by-chapter guide to some of the big things that affect us in life, from heartbreak to body image, love, friendship, periods and self-harm. There'll be a mishmash of testimonials, lists, opportunities to respond and expert advice.
The boundaries are becoming very flexible in how younger people behave online.
It will be filled with illustrations and points of interaction. Open is more than a book. It's a movement.
It's time to open up!
There'll be a tour, podcast and an audiobook too. Open, the book, the movement for open hearts and minds, coming soon.
I think we can probably all empathise with the internet wanting to make us smash something. That's a common feeling, I'd imagine. So I was wondering if, first of all, you could just tell us a bit more about how the book came to happen.
As you can see, there's like quite a lot of vignettes of me in schools, and I made a short film for Women of the World Festival, and I spoke to Jude Kelly, the creative director of the South Bank Centre, in preparation for WOW maybe 3 years ago, and I said, I work on Radio 1 and I speak at a lot of young people, but I don't really feel like I've checked in with young people for a little while. It was a while since I was a teenager, and I would like to get out there and get chatting. So we initially filmed with young women, the women of our future, and went to visit schools around the country and had a really simple workshop which we filmed, which was designed to get young women to open up about the things that affected them in life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, and I came away kind of so sad, actually, and confused, because the girls were so articulate and funny and cool and beautiful, but they just didn't seem to realise it, and I felt like that there may be something going on in society, within pop culture, advertising media, that is kind of doing them a disservice. And it goes beyond that. It's to do with the education system and just the current noisy times that we are all dealing with as adults as well, as to how to nurture our younger generation. It became very apparent that no one was really getting it right, and not that I am God, but I had a lot to say and a lot of energy. I did the equivalent film with young men a year later, and I felt like a lot of my work over the past 10 years was culminating in something, and I thought a lot about that and what that might be, and it became the book.
Well, I think it's amazing that you kind of spotted that opportunity and decided to do something about it rather than just carry on with with your other work. I think this morning when we heard from Becky about the great work that the Institute for Research in Schools is doing, and that the kind of students are contributing to real life science projects, and it just made me think, kind of reading your book, do you feel like we do underestimate young people and what they're capable of?
Absolutely, and I think things are changing all the time, and I think it's hard to make statements that are like exactly, factual when I'm sort of generalizing from the research and the work that I've done. But I do think that we need to kind of get with the picture and know that young people's minds are working super fast. They're able to be interactive in so many different ways, in ways that we weren't necessarily being at their age. The workplace is changing. I know that's being discussed a lot today. The fact that we may have grown up feeling like there is a certain trajectory or career path, or that you had to go to university to get to a certain place, and that you'd probably end up being able to buy a house, and that 2.4 sort of children scenario was the ultimate aim. I think, or maybe not. Maybe we we grew up in a time, particularly as young women, where it was like career, 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 you can have it all. And now we're kind of just like in this state of kind of confusion, and things are changing, especially like aspirationally, as to what's right and what's wrong. We're being advertised that a lot as to make us feel a bit frazzled. And I think that we need to give some time to young people in real life conversation to discuss how difficult that might seem sometimes, to discuss the state of the education system, to work on initiatives as bold as Amanda was talking about with NSPCC. Like, we need to be broaching big, serious subject matters when it comes to the next generation, because it's different to how it's ever been before.
Yeah, because you mentioned the kind of work that's being done with the workplace, and obviously lots of people here are kind of battling with how the internet and digital technology has changed maybe the organisations they work for, but potentially we're not kind of addressing that for just our personal lives and young people. I know that you speak in your book about potentially the need for some more curated spaces and kind of boundaries online. Can you tell us a bit about what you learned around that?
Well, once I started writing about the internet, I was like, oh no, this is how you become a Fruit Loop and be a serious conspiracy theorist, and I'm not gonna have any friends anymore because I'm gonna be sitting at the dinner party talking about some really scary stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm no expert. I don't even love tech myself. I fantasize continuously about getting a Nokia 3310. Yeah. I wonder if I will do it. I keep saying there'll be the right time, but I take a Polaroid camera with me on holiday so that I'm not boasting continuously about how great my experience is and try to experience it. So my personal, and it is a personal relationship that we have with technology, I think, maybe not so much as from a business perspective, but from a personal life one, is to experiment with the power of the switch, to analyze how certain elements of tech may be affecting us psychologically in certain times, Maybe if you're having a bit of a crappy time or you're going for a breakup, it's not the best to be following people that are hashtagging relationship goals continuously. It's just kind of navigating and steering the ship and being honest about the fact that tech will change our mood and it will psychologically affect us. And that, again, is a conversation that I think is really good to have with young people, just so that they're aware. We all know what could happen to our bodies if we smoke a cigarette. We all know that loads of drugs are bad for us, and we know why and how. But navigating our addiction to our devices and our use of social media might be worth the conversation. And it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all going for a Nokia 3310. I ain't done it yet, So it's just about the conversation and the toolkit, packing the right tools in your bag to approach life in a kind of realistic way in our modern times.
When you were meeting with the young people at the beginning of the project, did social media kind of come up as a topic of conversation, or was it just a sort of background to their lives? How did you experience that?
It came up, but in different ways. It was threads of conversation. So body image, for example, being a massive, massive subject matter. Everybody is so self-aware. And yesterday I was talking about this, and apparently, statistically, narcissistic, something, the middle word I can't remember, disorder basically, is up bigger than ever before. Like, we're all narcissists, and it's continuing. I think this whole self-awareness is a kind of byproduct of social media. And it can be used for good. Like, I'm not saying it can't, but I do think, like, we just need to get real, as I've mentioned previously. For example, like straight up examples, being in a year 9 class and speaking to a group of girls who down the road told me that there's a huge self-harm problem in their class that was kind of being spread like a trend, and that it was really easy to find the right hashtags to see a romanticized self-harm kind of notion online. But before that, one of the girls said that she could easily sit for 3 hours on her own and take up to 60 selfies to get the right picture to post online that she'd probably take down anyway because it didn't get enough likes. Yeah. So, you know, in terms of like our relationships with social media, like that was normalized amongst her peer group. But as far as I'm concerned, and I'm no psychologist, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it's not a great use of a day, is it, to be...
I don't think so.
No. Well, yeah, I think it's really interesting, thinking about Amanda's talk and those kind of initiatives that are happening.
I'm so excited about that. You're a Don.
Because in the book, you kind of talk about or reference a lot of really great organisations that are working to support young people in this space. And I guess, is there something, do you feel like there's something that technology companies, whether it's Google, Facebook, or kind of, smaller players can do to help to surface the content from those supportive places rather than the things that you're talking about that are kind of doing the opposite?
I think, like, from a non-expert perspective, I don't, as in just like a normal consumer, how the hell can we be so advanced in technology but not in terms of safety? Yeah. There are some answers that need to be answered. If NSPCC can do it, so can Instagram, so can Facebook, so can Twitter. It's not good enough.
Yeah, giving us like longer tweets is not really what everybody's looking for, is it?
I just think, I think there must be technology research focused on like how it is affecting us and safety, and being able to curate, as we were talking about, curate our experience of the online world. I went to a talk the other day about the dark web, and I was like, sounds kind of fun. I don't know. I don't mean from the dirtier perspective, but from like the kind of old school DIY-ness of it. There was something in that. I don't mean I'm not interested in going online and buying loads of illegal stuff, but just this kind of concept that it's a lot slower and that you don't get linked and sold at all the time. There's something in that.
Yeah, moving kind of the distributed web, so moving away from everything but going through Facebook.
And the privacy aspect as well, I think. I mean, I've never been on it, but I found something about it kind of interesting.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot to learn, haven't we? I was just wondering if you could, you've referenced a few times that it's not all doom and gloom, but what was some kind of positive stories around technology or that you heard from the young people?
Well, I think if you're an activist, which lots of us are now, it's a really great place to be. Or maybe if you consider yourself an outsider or other in any way, you can definitely find representations of some of the feelings you might be having or who you are as a community. So I think to galvanize positivity, to big up brilliant stuff that has made you feel happy, to spread a message, like this has become Team Open. We have a free podcast series, you don't have to buy the book. I went on tour, I bought a double-decker yellow bus to have real-life conversations, and we exchange. I think for it to facilitate real-life experiences is really lovely. Again, something else I was talking about yesterday, there's a collective called Girl Gang who just loved going to Kate Nash gigs, and they are now all over the country, and they use like their Girl Gang collective online to kind of steer a treasure chest of awesome gigs where they get together and hang out with similar people from all around the country that like, feminist punk rock. And I love that, to facilitate like reality and to find like minds And also for it to be kind of beautiful. Like, you see, I like directed and produced that video with my production company, and I just really enjoyed like working with the editor, like layering on GIFs and just like making a sort of visual fanzine. There are so many creative elements, and if I was younger, I think I definitely would have got into coding, like, because again, like, how cool if we can curate the space and then we can take this other world into our own hands and let it be more positive. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost about like taking back the internet from, from quite a lot of people, I'd imagine.
I just think it's a lot to do with people making like a lot, like it being, making money is fine, but like, you know, big corporization, like really infiltrating into our psyches.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, just thinking about the amount of time that people spend on their devices and then the impact that those organisations or the kind of main spaces that they're spending their time.
Yeah.
I think it's more than a lot of
Yeah,
us are
so if
aware.
we just curated it more, you're just like, oh, no, I'm going to do my like half an hour of guilty pleasure and like look at stuff that makes me like buy loads and loads of stuff that I'm not going to be in for when it gets delivered, like, you know, and just do all that icky, lovely stuff, or like look at all, you know, that kind of escapism stuff, celebrity gossip, or whatever it is that makes you feel a bit like weird and gross after you've looked at it online, and then. Oh, and now I'm going to go, you know, to the Tumblr, which is teaching me about philosophy, which is another phenomenon that I've heard about recently. It's like young people taking education into their own hands and teaching each other like about philosophy via Tumblr. I mean, if I could like somehow have the tools to curate like that experience with my device, I think I maybe would be happier.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely notion. So I think I'd really like to get your kind of top tips on embracing change and just kind of the way that I think it's really inspiring the way that you just make these things happen, and you know, you see kind of a big challenge and don't kind of run from it, but just think of ways to approach it. So yeah, what are your kind of top tips on embracing change and staying kind of positive, maybe in the face of something that feels quite daunting?
I think it's about being bold. I think we're living in scary times. We all know that, and that's easy to bring us down. But at the same time, like, I have a lot of hope. I believe like a revolution is possible, whatever that means. That can be a revolution in your household. You know, it can be the revolution of getting the Nokia 3310, or you know,
happen, isn't
or you know, galvanizing your community where you think, you know, for example, I live in Margate, and I've been talking a lot with my friends about like the refugee crisis and like what we're going to do in our fun social plans over Christmas that kind of incorporates that from a community perspective. You know, so these revolutions can mean anything. So I think to be bold and to believe in change, genuinely believe in it, in use the hopelessness to kind of to make you feel stronger in a sense and think, actually, forget about I can't do anything. Like, just use that energy and channel it into your own revolution is one thing. And I think another thing is to have a really good sense of humor, because like, what else have we got? You know, the revolution is important and it's serious, but it can make you cry and scream and make you want to smash something. Or you can put on a shiny skirt and you can get a megaphone and you can go for a disco dance and you can have real life conversations with people in the pub and thrash it out, even if you have different political opinions. Or, you know, again, in the workplace, you can do the same, have like a big focus on communication. We were talking about that anxiety, like the speaker before, about, you know, making people feel like they can be 100% themselves, so embracing individuality in every sector of our lives. So that's a lot to do with humor. Like, if you get something wrong, you get it wrong. Like, dust it off and try again. And don't let like this imprint of like the online world make you feel like you've failed or you've succeeded, because it's basically a load of shit. Like, you can absolutely succeed if you failed before.
Cool, those are excellent tips, I think. So thank you, Gemma. Thank you for joining us today at Dots.
Thank you so much.